I understood that, the main thing was to have some understanding, what's the value of the archetypes and the miasms? What's the value, particularly the archetypes, which is probably a new concept. Miasms, every homeopath knows about.
Yes, of course, but I think you still invited something in which maybe not so we're not so familiar with. Like
Yeah,
I understand the evolutionary movement, which
yeah,
sits beneath of each of these miasms.
yeah,
And the question was really like, how do we take it into practice?
yeah, yeah,
What would be the practical use of
yeah. Of course, like,
something?
this approach is at the core of all aspects of homeopathic practice. I mean, if you start just by, like, the case taking, when we're sitting taking a case, of course, you are open minded. And as you go, there are connections. For most homeopaths, those connections are like one remedy coming up. Oh, this is natrimur or sulfur or ignatia or whatever. Oh, this is also ignatia. Ah, I see ignatia again. So there is this kind of repetition, a kind of, a starting of connection, a starting of coherence. You see, that there is something behind. There is a pattern. That is something we take for granted in homeopathy. There should be a pattern, there should be a remedy, a potential remedy. Can I find it? And many years back, we used to believe we had all the necessary remedies. Now we realize that there are a lot of new potential remedies, which changes the approach a little bit more to let's get the best possible remedy. Let's see what, covers best of what we have. And you might even end up, I'm sure this is a remedy within this group, but, the remedies we have here are not good enough. What do I do? That's that kind of feeling. When you work with archetypes, you are not, stuck in thinking, oh, this is ignatia, this is ignatia. You are on a deeper level. You are seeing the archetype. Ah, I see the same archetype again. Oh, here it is again. Here it is again. And that helps you with a very important challenge in homeopathy. First prescription is always easy. You're always optimistic. I found a good remedy. I hope it works. But when you come, to the second prescription, the patient comes back, nothing happened. You go through the list. Nothing happened. Really, nothing happened. Then you are in the similimum, non-similimum situation. You thought you had the similimum, but it was not the similimum.
Mhm.
I was sure this was Natrium muriaticum, but there was no response, despite the salt, despite the grief, despite the dwelling, despite all the keynote symptoms. Nothing happened. Then, you are a little bit lost because you have also lost what you're holding on. You have lost the concept that keeps the case together, because you hold the case together with a remedy that did not work.
Mhm.
So if you use miasms, that might help. Oh, well, it's still like, tubercular or carcinogenic. Or if you have, like, kingdoms, it's still mineral, which is a huge, amount of remedies. And that might be a little bit of help. But if you have the archetype, you have something that you can hold together, the whole, every aspect of the case in a coherence, in a connection through, each follow up. You have something which connects. So, first of all, it helps you much quicker to see the core in the case. It helps you to connect many more parts of the case beyond what you can translate to a remedy. So very quickly, you are able to have like a handle to hold in, to hold all the different fragments, all the different symptoms in a coherent, connected, state. And you are holding the case despite of a remedy not working. You still have, a clarity of what this case is about, which means you are able to limit down to a specific amount of remedies. And they go across kingdoms, they go across other, divisions. You would see, like the archetype, the old, is manifested in Natrum muriaticum, in conium, in Kali carbonicum. There you have two minerals. You have one nosode. Conium is a plant. Carcinosinum is the nosode that also has the same quality. And still, you see they have something in common. They have this aspect of, structure, control, responsibility on one side. And then you know right away that there is an opposite side. You know that the softness, the sensitivity, the yielding is there at the other side. So knowing the archetype, you also know the polarity right away. You see the polarity in the case, and you know what it has to be. And you can define it with concepts, with words easily. So this is one of the most valuable qualities of archetypes, because you can then explain to the client what the whole, life story, the life theme, what their main polarity is about, what kind of mastering strategies they are using, how they are using, control or structure or responsibility to approach challenges in life, and what they should do to, achieve a balance, how they have to learn to let go, to learn to trust, to learn to have, confidence, to feel that, the value of being vulnerable. So, of course, in each remedy that there are different nuances of this main theme, but you're holding the case, you're holding the remedy. Even when you study a remedy, you see much, quicker what the whole thing is about. You recognize the polarity, and it's when you see the archetype, you know right away what the polarity is. So sorry.
Two questions. One is, I mean, when we're working with systematic homeopathy, we already would go to, let's say it's series 6. So we have responsibility and the way of task and leadership. And we know there are several remedies from the animal kingdom. There are several remedies from mineral, from plant, and we kind of mapping it to evolution. Like, where is the difference in now touching on the archetype? Or is it kind of similar? And the second question would be, why do you think it's so important to explain to our patients these kind of journey they are in?
Yeah.
Because this is, I think, most of us don't do. We
No.
don't explain much.
I think that, there has been a kind of ideal in homeopathy of, just using the remedy, not trying to explain. And that's, of course, because if you try to explain with the knowledge of one remedy, and it turns up to just be partial, or just holding for half a year or something, it's not that deep. When you understand the archetypes, you are seeing a theme that runs through their whole life. They have had one or two divorces. They have moved to different countries. They have had different kind of jobs. They have had 3 or 4 major traumas. And you can make them easily perceive, the same theme running through each of them. And they say, yes, I took charge. Yes, I took control. Yes, I was dwelling on it and not processing it. And they will see that process. It's important to understand that, we tend to idealize only using the remedy. But when you are a homeopath, If you think about Rogerian therapy, Carl Rogers had a very beautiful phrase saying unconditional positive regard. If you have an unconditional positive regard, it's a little bit like the unprejudiced prescriber in paragraph 6, but it has, more context. Carl Rogers says, if a therapist is approaching the client with unconditional positive regard, that starts healing by itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just that is a start of healing. And you cannot eliminate that and say, no, I only want the remedy to act, That's a part of it. And then you have Aaron Antonovsky, who has coined this term salutogenesis, health creation, the creation of health. And, he talks about the sense of coherence. If the patient is seeing that this is meaningful or manageable, then right away the healing process starts. It's like placebo is so wide. It's not something negative. There are so many aspects of it. And we have to, open our minds to what is going on between the client and, the practitioner on many, many levels. We experience phenomenon that we perhaps just put aside. Why did the remedy start to act before I gave it? Why did the remedy start to act? Or was it the first consultation? Was it the case itself? The client comes back and says, that consultation was amazing. I never took the remedy, but it feels like it worked. All those things we need to accept. And I think it's also of extreme importance to value that this is something that the client owns. The process, the healing, is the client's own process. We are not an authority. We are someone treading the path together with the client. And for me to understand and perceive something and not sharing it feels wrong. On the other side, I'm very careful not to impose. I only use the words of the client. So when the clients, says I, need control, or I make lists, or I, always make sure to be well prepared, I'm using those exact words to reflect back to them. You said this and this and this and this. Can you see how it has the same quality? How there is an element here, of structure or control. And then I reflect back, and you also said, and that part is very, opposite. It's like another aspect of yourself. So reflecting back on them, I think is important. The bottom of the working mechanism of homeopathy is the law of similars. It is used in psychoanalysis and psychotherapy and coaching as mirroring.
Yeah.
Mirroring, or seeing yourself, know thyself, gnosis eaton, as it was on the Temple of Delphi. It is that process. And you can give the mirroring process through a remedy, but also in other ways. And you cannot prevent other ways from, coming in to the case taking. Then you should just have a blindfolded, just two small holes looking in through and asking questions through a mic.
Yeah. Yeah.
A small drawer here. Here comes the pill. Take the pill, and there are many more dynamics happening.
Yeah,
With Petrushka,
we're talking about that we kind of get traumatized in relation and we heal in relation.
Yeah.
Which means if you're sitting with somebody who's welcoming you fully and reflecting what you are and, seeing it, that it's healing in itself. It
Absolutely.
touches me.
Absolutely.
And what I'm quite interested in is like when I am having the concept, or not even a concept, but the soul of the archetypes, if I like can mirror it back,
Yeah.
feels like touching on a psyche which is fluid, and to be able to even reflect more back, which can be understand for the process to
Absolutely.
develop.
Absolutely. There is an interesting, researcher in psychoanalysis called Patricia Clarkson. And Patricia Clarkson has, researched and described and written about the different therapeutic relations.
Mhm.
And it can be very practical, like you would almost go to a hairdresser or pedicure manicure kind of thing, reflexology on the feet, that kind of therapy. It can be kind of projections that you project to the therapist, the father that you never had or something like that. It can be emotional, you really feel the pain of the client, and the feeling is shared. It can be on even terms, I-you relationship. You are a psychologist, I am a homeopath. We decide to help each other with our tools. But it can also be transpersonal. And that transpersonal level is when you sit there with a case and suddenly it opens. Suddenly, you know, this is pulsatilla. There is no doubt about it. Why didn't I see it before? And you feel not only that, you got like two lines under the answer and you understood it's pulsatilla, but you feel an energy, you feel a kind of coherence with the client or with something in the room.
Mhm.
You feel there is a presence
Mhm.
that is transpersonal. The client might even feel it.
Mhm.
The client might, sometimes I've experienced the client say, ah, now you got it. Or did you feel that? What did you do? Even they can say, what happened now? That kind of aha. Um, and this is a very important aspect of the archetypes, because that aha moment is a door between two worlds. It's a door between the unconscious realms, the places or states you are unaware of, entering into awareness. When you um, when you do a proving, you experience something, and then you need to put words to it. And those words might sometimes feel good, but sometimes you don't feel that you are able to express it in a good way, and or exact or precise. This state is very common during the consultation or the studying of a remedy, or as I said, during a proving, where you are in touch with a realm which is beyond the objective conscious realm, and where you're trying to put words or concepts into it. And the archetypes are much closer to that other side. In the tradition of Kabbalah, there is a kind of understanding of reality as four levels. Fire at the top is just a creative beam, a force that is there all the time. If it was not there, everything would disappear. That beam of energy, of manifestation, like the word of God, God is singing the creation, that is then turning into the first kind of structure, which is like patterns on a mental idea realm.
Mhm.
That is the realm of the archetypes. Then it's condensing even more to forms and shapes, and finally materializing. So with the archetypes, you are connecting with a realm which is unspoken. And you are learning, like, the letters of nature. Imagine that you were speaking and never had, learned the art of writing. You didn't know about letters. And somebody said, you know what? With this, like, 25, 30 symbols, you can, like, write everything that has been said. And you can pass it on to someone which didn't even hear it, and they can read it. It would be like an amazing discovery.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the same, with the archetypes. It is like, you're getting in touch with what you call perennial knowledge. Or like, Schwader de Liebig was a couple. They were Swiss, actually. And they went to Egypt. They spent, I think, 15 years just studying one temple in Egypt. They knew some of the esoteric sciences. And with that knowledge, they could understand the approach of the Egyptians much deeper. And he said, this is about sacred science. And he also said, innate knowledge, knowledge that you have within, that you are innate, that you have been born with. There is something in us. Like we said before, there is a remedy there. And every remedy has an essence. Every remedy has a meaningfulness, has a polarity. But to discover that, like just the biggest remedy we have is sulfur. It has, like, I think now it has passed 20,000 symptoms. It took me, despite all this, it took me a whole year to be able to word sulfur with so little, concepts as possible. I ended up with center, periphery, the polarity of center and periphery. Sulfur wants to be in the center. It can be like, financially. I have lots of money. I'm like, a mecene. I'm giving things to society. My name is in the papers. He just supported this case. He supported this case. It can be in sports. I'm the best, fetcher in Norway. I'm the best, like, football player. Or, that kind of situation. Very often it's intellectual. Very often it's about ideas. But they are so much in the center that they forget the periphery. They forget that there are people around. So people look at them as strangers. They can come to a party dressed in even a little bit like dirty clothes. I came. That's the most important thing. I'm here. The clothes means nothing. So when you give sulfur, the center starts to flow into the periphery. They start to manifest things. They complete projects. They become nicer in their clothing. They become more tidy. They take considerations of others. I had sulfur cases saying that, it's strange now because I feel it's more important for me to ask, what does this person need that I can provide? Than before. I was just about myself. It was about, like, telling about my discoveries or something. And then you see that it's healing. So, the polarity, you understand what it is about, and you understand, like, all the symptoms of the remedy.
Yeah, and I love how you make it a vibrant and like touchable or feelable movement, what sulfur is, because we know the concept of this is identity in its process of being now really me and all that, like these concepts we have, but it's really nice to understand, like, how does it vibrant, how
Yeah.
does it move in a way, and what is the energetic movement of coming to the center, forgetting the periphery, and then being able to go from there. So for me, it gives quite a good understanding of this is actually the evolutionary step for
Yeah.
this being to be able to do the next Yeah,
Absolutely, you know, and that's the beauty of the archetypes. It gives you the language to see and perceive that kind of, depth of knowledge. It's like, this innate knowledge is a deep. I think I would like, I presume that many of you like attendees and listeners know German. This German words of verstanden, begriffen, erkennen, to understand, to grasp. And I call it be knowing because there is no good English words. So I coined this new word, be knowing, to reflect, erkennen. So it's like these levels. To understand a remedy can be like, just knowing the keynotes and the symptoms. When you grasp it, you start to feel the dynamics.
yeah.
You start to feel the way it moves, the way it works. As far back as Yar, a very early homeopath with a very early repertory, he said of sulfur, tendency to start, which is a beautiful way of explaining the same thing. They start things because as long as they are in the center where everything comes from, they love it. But, as soon as it needs to be, manifested, they are struggling with managing it. So, tendency to start is a beautiful way of describing the same thing. And this inner knowledge, this is like, a kind of arcanum, be knowing. You know it so deeply, like when I told you center periphery and explained it. You know it's true because you know sulfur so well. You know what it is about, and everything comes together.
And what I love about it, it's not this judgmental way of putting names to it, like you're selfish, you're kind of self-centered, or you might be very drawn to your own identity and you are intellectual. If I just mirror this to a
Yeah,
patient, it's more or less giving a critic. It's more or less
yeah,
something you don't want to identify with. And there's no, I would say, no solution. There's no movement towards something.
mhm,
Just get less self-centered or please start to be interested in your periphery. This is more where somebody would go, yeah, restrict to
yeah,
because it's imposing something and it's being judgmental. Whereas when I see this movement of energy, the dynamic in between, it becomes more unconditional. It's like I
absolutely.
love this
Yeah,
movement much more, and we can invite it to maybe have its
yeah,
full circle. And this is a reflection which I feel it's much more valuable to relax into as the patient and as myself. And this is a reflection we would like to have, like the awareness of it in the psyche and in our consciousness.
absolutely. And additionally, it makes it much easier to give advice to the client. You hear sometimes patients saying, "So what does this remedy do?" Or "How does it work?" And homeopaths are then stuck with, it reflects like, your pattern, or it, stimulates a healing mechanism. But with this knowledge, you can, say to a sulfur case that, you have this very strong ability to start things. You have this very, creative mind. You have, this capacity of seeing things which are yet not manifested. You are like standing at the top of the mountain and receiving, all these projects. But there are too many of them to be realized. And you can stand there at the top of the mountain the rest of your life and end up doing nothing. You have to take the next step and make some choices and try at least to take one thing and bring it all the way down to the bottom of the mountain, bring it all the way down, to make it realized. And that will, like, give you such satisfaction. It will give you such like a healing feeling. So you can use different words of making them understand the process. Or, you can say, I'm sure you are extremely, knowledge about this subject, or extremely smart. Perhaps it's a self teacher. A self teacher would feel themselves they are the best teacher in the world, but none of their students grasps anything what they're saying. The students are really struggling. So then, you might need to help them understand that they have to, make a priority on this student, struggling still with, basic calculation, addition or subtraction. And how can you help this student to take their next step? Instead of having an aim of learning them something which is not in the curriculum yet. It's like that kind of process. So it helps you to hold the remedy, to hold the client in a clarity with very few concepts, and to see the polarity. And I would say you don't know a remedy well if you don't see its polarity. You don't have an essence if you don't have a polarity. The polarity is core. And when you take a case and you start to see things that are opposed, then you are close to the core of the case. So and you will immediately be able to put words to it with the archetypes. So it's like archetypes are in touch with this ancient knowledge. They are behind Kabbalah, astrology, alchemy, numerology. They are the patterns that the ancient cultures recognized.
Mm-hmm.
And they recognized them because they were so much closer to them. Karl Jasper described what he calls the axial age. Around 200 to 800 BC, there was a change all over the world, in China, in India, in Greece, where this dramas of fights in the heavens in the Indian culture, where there was a state of just perceiving qualities out there in the cosmos, in nature, and describing them, into a state of analytical approach. People were asking, what does nature consist of? How many elements? In China, they ended up with 5 elements. In India, with 3 doshas. In Greece, with 4 elements. But they were discussing all of them, 4, 5, 3, 2. China also had 2, yin and yang. And they were discussing for 200 years, is it 2 or is it 5? And finally, they combined them. The interesting thing is not the number they chose, but the interesting thing is the approach. Political, objective approach. Is it like that? Do both men and women have soul? Is this goodness or badness? Is this rightness or right? All these kind of questions they were asking. Before that, the approach was different. You just perceived. If you read ancient language, like if you read the Old Testament in Hebrew, it's not about objective descriptions. It's about perceptions. Like in the Song of Solomon, he describes his lover as, your legs are like sapphires. What is that? It means well-defined, like well-structured. Your muscles are so strong that, your legs look like they are structured, well-structured. And it's like the impression of almost like a crystal, so the ancient language was perception. And when you get into that, you are able to get closer to the perception of the case. A good homeopath is perceiving dynamics.
Yeah.
A good homeopath is not looking for objective symptoms alone, but what is the dynamic, nature behind here? How is Dynamis singing? How is Dynamis speaking? And that quality behind is, the language of the archetypes.
Mhm. I believe most homeopaths became homeopaths because they already have this inclination,
Yeah,
bring also this way of perceiving reality and combining it with maybe the objective or more scientific way of rational things. So, but yeah, it feels like we are also like as humanity in this movement of opening up perception more and more to
yeah,
the level again, right? And getting out of this mind frame rational thing. And it's
absolutely.
actually fun to perceive dynamics. It's very alivening. And in itself, I feel this is a healing process.
It is absolutely. And you are very right. We are coming back to that kind of, awareness. It's like we have, as humankind and its evolution, we have been at the bottom of the most material, approach. And we're heading back and we're reaching to the same level as, the Egyptian kind of awareness. Egyptians used pictograms, and we are using emojis more and more. We are like, using memes. We are going back to this picture, which is saying so much more than words. We are entering that realm again. There is an increasing understanding of the limitations of science. It's beautiful in becoming objective. It's beautiful, like, in the matter of fact approach. But we are starting to again see the value of experience, to see the value of, what you have experienced cannot be taken away from you. It might not be explainable. It might not be explainable with scientific, understanding, but you value it as the experience. And that perspective is coming more and more.
Yeah, and this would bring me maybe to the last question, like when we're touching on miasms, and I feel there's the same process happening. Like, how do we integrate our understanding of miasms into a way of embracing them more instead of just pathologizing what happened? And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's also a deeper, I feel there's an invitation to understand deeper. What does it mean if our patient is in cancer miasm? Is
yeah,
it just, you
yeah,
control, you do this, you have this high effort of doing the superhuman task, and this is what I perceive.
yeah.
Do I really perceive the miasm in its evolutionary sense? So,
Absolutely. If you look at the miasms, you can, they are reflecting the journey through life. And as you, like, start with the Soric, lacking every kind of ability to speak, to talk, to walk, to, do anything, you are going into youth. And youth is stretching out like the tubercular miasm. They love to travel, they fall in love again and again. And then you reach the peak in the psychosis and you go back at the same level of the tubercular. You have the cancer miasm. Both tubercular and cancer miasm are about change. The tubercular are looking outside for the change. But when you start to come back, you're looking inside for perfection. You're looking inside to do things differently. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have reacted in that way. You look at your mistakes in life. You
mhm.
try to, like, to become a better person. So the difference there is about perfecting the external with all kind of, like, silicon and botox and whatever it is, or changing the internal, and cultivating, the inner qualities, the inner virtues. So every miasm has a positive side. The psoric miasm, you know, learns you wisdom. The psychotic miasm learns you love. There are, like, virtues behind each of the miasms that they cultivate. So it is, yes, a pattern of, disease in homeopathic minds, but it's a pattern of life, and it is there. And the cancer miasm is collective. If you look at the earth today
Yeah.
and you look at the different cities like Hamburg or London or New York, they grow like tumors. They have like metastases of asphalt to other villages, growing. In nighttime they have light where there should be darkness, and rest and connection with the cosmos, and they are isolating themselves with this artificial light. So human is a small organism on the planet Earth, which, they are spreading cancer. Human culture is carcinogenic. We need to change. We need to change, our approach to the earth, our approach to life. We need to learn that quality of not external change, but internal change. So it's the same thing. I went a little bit quick. I hope you was able to follow me, but it's it's the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it tells a much deeper story than
Yeah.
just saying we have an increasement of cancer, being there, or so many people have it, and and it's about there has something to change, but to understand what is it, what needs to change, like what it is this
Yeah.
me telling us. And if I'm sitting with somebody like deeply involved in the cancer dynamics, I would say,
Mm.
yeah. So can I reflect back? What does it mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm just getting. Mhm.
Miasms are also a very good tool to understand, evolutionary stages, evolutionary like steps. And one way of assessing the healing process, of course, is to see that the polarity is less polarized. To see, that, like in sulfur, that they start to, be able to manifest all the way to the periphery, or consider the periphery, taking care of the periphery. But also, you can see the healing process when a client moves to the next step. And this is one of the new things in homeopathy. Some 20, 30 years back, we started to see groups and families more and more. Now we start to understand more and more evolutionary stages, not only to find this reflects the client, but also to understand where they are at in their growth process.
Mhm. Great. Mhm. Is there anything else you would like to mention about us when we call it a transformative journey, what we're doing in these seminars?
The beauty of working in this way, of knowing the miasms, is that, it is healing. To just, learn symptoms by heart, to sit there with all these fragments of the remedies, is not very healing for the homeopathic mind. But to see and perceive the coherence in every case is very healing. To be able to reflect that back to the client is healing. So it's a way that you can heal yourself. It's a way that you become more aware of your own process. So, it changes the way you work in a beautiful way. That's perhaps the most valuable thing for the homeopath.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that so beautifully.
You're welcome.
Mhm. That's nice. And yeah, I feel this is exactly what I want to share
Yeah,
with
that's good.
people who want to take part on this journey.
Yeah,
Yeah, and actually this is what we need to know. Like what are we actually doing? What
yeah,
are we actually inviting here to understand? And this is what I would say is the invitation to everybody who want to join. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, we didn't speak about that, but it makes you also understand the different systems and models, and not only understand them better, but also be able to, analyze them as to their strengths and weaknesses, where their shortcomings, and their focuses, the division into 18 stages. Why 18? Why not 8? Why not 32? It's 8 and 32 are as prominent numbers in the periodic system. That's why I mentioned. So that also is a valuable aspect of it. There are so much that can be said. It's
we could already begin just go into this. But yeah, actually, this is what we are having then for 2 days and another 2 days, and we are just diving into this, right? And
yes, yeah,
exploring these realms of dynamics in remedies and in miasms, and
absolutely.
yeah, and touching on this level of
When you are, you say touching, when you are in this kind of process where, when I lecture, it's like I'm opening small doors and windows, and you can enter into something which, is bigger than what I'm able to say with words. I remember first time I listened to George Vitulkas. He was lecturing about causticum, and I realized that I understood the remedy, and something behind his words. I grasped the quality that, like he was just giving fragments, but I was jumping behind those windows and into it. And that is also what takes part in this kind of lectures, this kind of work.
right. Yeah, it just reminds me also on astrology or other, I would say, methods, but
Yeah,
it's actually the same. So when we say Jupiter,
yeah,
and okay, intellectually we have a lot of terms for it, but actually we want to feel
yeah,
Jupiter as an
yeah,
archetype, as a
yeah.
force. And if this is, and it's the same with homeopathy, it's the same with our sources, right? The
It is.
communication to these nature surrounding us,
Yeah,
the invitation, as you said, when pulsatilla enters the room between me and you, maybe
yeah,
we are three, right?
yeah.
Pulsatilla is kind of yeah, you can feel its
Essence and its
state,
presence. Yeah.
right? And this goes deeper than just having some symptoms, and it's much more fun, I would say.
It is, and it's not only fun; it's vitalizing, and it's spiritualizing. It's inspiring. It's a very good feeling when you have had this experience. It's like injection of spirit.
Right, and it brings us also to this point of when we have no material source. And maybe I've had this often with clients on the last time. So how do we invite something which has no, imponderable, but
Yeah,
maybe also just a spirit, an
absolutely.
archetype, which is
Yeah.
not manifested in a physical body, I would say. So, and actually it feels quite easy to say, this one is, we can invite this as well, right?
Mhm.
So,
That's right.
oh,
I call it an onton. It's a unit. It's like it's a concept. You can you can invite sulfur or pulsatilla or any remedy without its presence in a tablet or in a pill. It is there, and that's what that which is there. It what speaks through you in the proving. And some provings are done, with ingestion, some with just meditation, some with just intention, because what is there speaks through you anywhere, and it comes anyway through that kind of quality. If you think that the outside or external world is material, it might be difficult to accept or grasp it. But if you recognize its energy, it's easier. And if you even go so far as to say, I know that consciousness is the primary. Everything material is just, a condensation of consciousness. then it's not a problem at all to understand it. Consciousness can connect, immediately. Despite time or space distances, you can connect, to it. And then you can connect also to the remedy. And of course, that makes it easier to perhaps both accept and to use, imponderables, or to prescribe remedies in different ways. I like to question things. I like to be open-minded. I like to explore. I like to say, can it be explained differently? Is it more to it? It's like an ongoing process,
I feel this is familiar to most homeopaths. Like this journey is quite, there's no end.
There is no end. There is no end.
Right.
That's right.
Oh, thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all. I know it's enjoyable, and I hope you can use it. I hope it will help you to get more attendees, and then I'm looking very much forward to it. It will be a busy autumn because I'm doing this thing in Croatia. I have one event before, and then also Matthias was asking to do something in the autumn.
Of course.
So yeah, but it's not stressing me. I mean, it's something I enjoy. So it's not like oh my God, I have to do all this.
Yeah. No, actually, right. If it's really enjoyable to do it, then. Yeah. So yeah, it's the same with having consultations. It's the same with some sessions. So if you so enjoy it, then there's not this way of being burdened that they are.
No, I remember back in the old days, like 40, 45 years ago, we didn't have a computer with a repertory, we didn't have like the access to all this information. We had like, Ken's repertory with written editions. And every day when I left the office, I looked through my next day and looked at all the patients and say, okay, this remedy worked well. I don't need to look into that one. This I'm a little bit unsure about. Here I need to bring the files home. And every day I had 5, 6, 7 files, bringing them home, sitting there, repertorizing. And I had one big sheet. I chose a rubric size 50, 70 remedies. I wrote them all up. And then I took the next rubric and I made a circle around all the remedies containing in the same. And I made a square on all the other ones, a triangle on the next one, an underline on the next one, and tried to see which remedy goes most through. And you had this feeling of being a cab driver using these little tricycles, this little small tricycle biking through town. And then when we got, the computers and the repertory, of course, it was much easier. And all these stages that you go through as a practitioner, and how you could feel exhausted after a day of work, but now I can work from early morning till late night, and I walk from the office. The cases are done, they are finished, I have prescribed, there are nothing to bring home, I feel relaxed, I'm not tired, it's like a completely different situation.
Different situation, yeah, much more alive and right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm also so glad for processes like this, and really enjoying to be with a patient, because it's really, something which is alive and which goes on the realm of aliving me and the other and having this journey. And this is so different than sitting there for 4 hours and trying to note down. So can you please go into the sensation of your knee pain?
No, it's like wrapping out presence. It's like, what is here? Is there something new coming up? What is behind this? And every time you have good results on a small or strange remedy or something that, oh, it's interesting, you know.
And diving also into the hell state and then going to the heaven and, combining.
Yes. Yeah.
Itself, I mean, this we learned the process in itself is bringing so much awareness, and
It is.
it started to be enjoyable to do it, and
Yeah.
and even by now being aware of invite our source to it,
Yeah.
like go even more fluid with it, let the chaos begin and just explore, I would say sometimes. Yeah, it's actually I'm very curious about what
Yeah.
we'll dive into this seminar in our journey forward. Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward. So thanks a lot. So I need
Take good care and enjoy the summer, and then we
and
speak
then
again.
yeah,
Yeah.
we meet in autumn latest.
Yeah. All the
So
best.
have a nice day. Yeah. All
You soon. Bye bye.